Hi, friends. I wanted to share a lesson/story with you this evening that happened back in 2002 when I was driving from Atlanta, Georgia to Spokane, Washington by myself. During that trip, I picked up hitchhikers along the way just to pass time, and I made a stop in Billings, Montana, got some shut-eye there, and then when I got back onto the on-ramp onto I-90, there was a hitchhiker on the side of the road. Now, this was late winter, and so it was snowing, and this guy was completely bundled up, couldn't even see his face. He was completely covered in a scarf. Now, as the man approaches my car and opens up my door, at the same time he shares his first words with me, this smell hits my face like a ton of bricks, and it smells like death. And his first words to me is, "I don't have anything you can catch." So I'm a little worried as the man steps into my car, but Jim gets into my car. He starts to unwrap his face, and then I understand what he's talking about. He didn't have a nose. It was an open wound. There was just two holes in his face. His lip was gone. All you could see were teeth, and you can actually see bone in his cheek. It literally looked like shrapnel had taken this man's face off. Completely in pain. And Jim shared a story with me over the last several hours about what he's been doing and why he's on the road. Now, about a year before this had happened, year and a half before this had happened, he had been diagnosed with terminal melanoma carcinoma. And he was a shipboat captain on a tanker, oil tanker, up in Alaska, and had spent the better part of 20 years on the water. And the UV rays coming off the water, I guess, are extremely intense, and that caused the cancer to form on his face. So nothing could be done for him up in Alaska, so he was referred to a clinic down in Miami, and as a last-ditch effort, he decided to go down there to see if he could save his life. So he flew down to Washington State, bought a truck, and drove down to Miami because on the way back he planned on picking up supplies before he went home. So he's down in Miami for a few days. He gets the bad news that there's nothing they can do for him, and so he's just going to head back home to spend his last days with his kids and just enjoy what he can. And so before he leaves, he decides to go to dinner. And as he comes out of dinner, there is a gentleman hanging outside of his truck. He approaches the guy. The guy turns around, pulls a gun on Jim, and takes everything that he has, including his truck. No wallet, no money. All he has is flip-flops, a t-shirt, and a pair of shorts. And Jim can't get into a shelter. He can't get money from a bank. He reaches out to his kids who live with his estranged wife, and she tells them they cannot help him. I don't know that story, but it must be a doozy. So Jim spends the next 30 days on the streets of Miami and finally decides that he's just going to hitchhike home. It's the only option he has, and that's his mission, to get home, to spend the rest of his days with his kids. So by the time I pick up Jim, he's been on the road for 30 days. I think, just over 30 days by the time I pick him up. Everything that he has with him has been given to him along the way from just kind strangers that probably heard the story that Jim had. And I got to spend about 7 hours with Jim on the way from Billings to Missoula, and it was an amazing story and one that continues to touch my life. I don't know what happened to Jim. I expect that he made it up to Alaska and got to spend some time with his family before he passed. But there's not a time in my life where I think that, things are just not going great, or they're just not going the way that I want them to. There's been desperate times in my life, and I've been able to lean on this story that Jim gave me, and it's given me hope. And it's given me hope because no matter what I'm going through, I can look at Jim and his mission to get home and know that there is nothing that I cannot handle. There's nothing that I can't handle. And there's nothing that you can't handle in your life. I'm losing light here, but, this is an important message for all of us, that no matter what you're going through in your career, no matter what you're going through in your relationship, there is an end in sight. Do not give up. Keep pushing forward. Keep putting one foot in front of the other like Jim did on his way home, and you can accomplish anything. There's nothing too great in your life that you can't overcome it.